Yes, my friends, and welcome back to the Jon Mahon Show, powered as always by Forever Fucking Loud.
Powered as always by Forever Fucking Loud.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Thought I'd sprinkle some sauce on it today.
Sprinkle some effing sauce.
Some fuck sauce. How you doing, Ollie?
I'm good. I'm sort of protecting myself today from the spookiness within.
Ah.
Because today we've got Sam from Shields protecting, and then Chris from the Ghost Inside.
I love it.
The spookiness within.
The spookiness within. I love it. Well, that is a great way to introduce today's guest, my friends. Yes, indeed. We will be joined by Sam from Shields and Chris from the Ghost Inside.
From the spookiness within.
All the spookiness within. Are you much of a Halloween guy?
No.
No, I'm not.
Absolutely not. I mean, I don't hate it, but I'm not going out of my way to dress up.
Yeah.
Or
you don't strike me as someone with a strong fancy dress.
It's just like, why am I spending money for one night
to look like something else?
And it's like, no one really cares. Everyone just wants to get drunk. And yeah, the most I'll ever do is buy a white t-shirt from Primark.
And then splat it.
Blood all over. Yeah.
There we go. Your boy's a zombie.
Yeah, that's all you need. All you need, guys.
And then beer. Well, there's a lot to discuss on today's show, news-wise. We've actually been very patient waiting for some news to kick off. And today we've had a massive bit of news, which is Download Festival have given us their next batch of bands. So later on in today's show, we'll be going through that. But we were having a little peek at it before we started. And there's some interesting additions.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the comment section.
Yeah.
Especially on Facebook. People on Facebook fucking, especially like
love a moan
metal fans on Facebook. They just like, anytime there's a band announced that doesn't have breakdowns in.
Yeah.
They're like, R.I.P. this festival.
Yeah.
It's like, grow up.
Yeah. It's
grow up and listen to Busted.
Well, yeah, spoiler warning, that is one of the bands that we'll be talking about a little bit later on. Yeah. Where did that name come from?
Spoiler alert, like, people that don't know can't just Google it right now.
That's very true.
You have to watch the show to find out.
This is your only source of news. News doesn't exist anywhere else outside of this show.
No. Not unless I've had put my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And then posted it on Facebook. Oh, well, in terms of new music, we're still having to be a little bit patient. There isn't much new music kicking around at the moment.
There's been some good releases. I mean, we did New North Lane and Alpha Wolf.
It's starting to trickle in a little bit.
Who else has released a single?
I don't know. My release radar is still very, very scarce at the moment from Spotify. Like, I'm not getting that much in it. Let's see.
I've just been playing the new Neck Deep album.
I tell you what we can do whilst we've got 10 minutes before Sam joins us. Oh, are you ready for this?
What can we do?
We can react to something. Because
I mean, I've already heard it, obviously. I imagine you have.
I have heard this as well. However, there is a brand new Bad Omens song.
Brand new Bad Omens and Poppy.
And do you know what the interesting thing about this song is?
What?
The Bad Omens singer isn't on it.
Yeah. There's no Noah. Yeah. No Noah. Noah man.
Sebastian. It's a nice acronym as well, isn't it? Violence Against Nature.
Get in van. Get in the van.
Isn't it strange to create something that hates you?
Love it. One thing that Bad Omens are really good at is energy. Like, they're really good at switching the energy of a song out of nowhere.
I think this is a really well-made song.
Yeah.
And I like that it has a theme. So, from what I'm aware...
The melodic side.
When she's doing this, like, melodic-y thing, she's acting as, like, an AI. And then it's just basically playing like a character in the song, I think.
Interesting, because I also saw somewhere that this song is comprised of loads of different parts from The Death of Peace of Mind.
Is it?
Apparently. So that's AI pop.
I think so.
It's a fucking flow though. Yeah, those bars go so hard.
Yeah. I feel like Bad Omens are so good at this sort of heavy but also synthy
Poppy.
industrial.
Yeah.
I like this bit with the sort of
Blast beats.
rise and synth line, and then it's with the chugs. It's so bloody good.
I love those blast beats. One sec, I'll scrub that back a bit because this.
It's not really a blast beat.
That little.
That's just a triplet. Blast beats are like.
Okay.
Happiness is an illusion, it's an analog confusion. You are nothing more than a thought. Existential execution, just a fluke in evolution. History already forgot. You've been running from me like the dirt all second coming, and I'm here whether you like it or not. Initiated operation of your own extermination. Now it's too late for you to stop. Violence against nature.
I do love that hook as well. The violence against nature.
I was talk about this, but I feel like Noah could have had a bit in this.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was just like a screamy bit or something, or backing vocals, I don't know.
Yeah, like I can hear parts of Death of Peace of Mind in this.
Yeah.
Like there's, I can't remember the name of the song, but there is a tune they've got that has that sort of gallop to it.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember it. It was in the set list that they just did with Bring Me.
I don't know which one.
The one that goes, "Can you hear me through the white noise?"
White Noise.
Is that the name of the
I
song?
think so, yeah.
Oh, is it?
Everyone hates you.
And we are going to be talking to someone who plays in a band that are responsible for some of the best lyrical acapellas before a riff or a breakdown hits.
They haven't done a whispered one though.
I was going to say, yeah, the whisper before goes hard as a motherfucker, though.
Everyone hates you.
Yeah, right?
That sounds good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I want that one more time.
Everyone hates you.
Oh. Are they blast beats?
Blast beats is when you just hit the snare very fast.
Is it the snare? I always
Yeah.
thought it was the kick drum.
No,
Is it not?
that's just like a backbeat. That's just a fast double pedal.
Ah, I always thought blast beats were like a combination of like kick and snare.
Yeah,
But it's just.
Well, I mean, you can do blast without the kick, but it has to have a snare. It has to have the snare
does
doing.
it? Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Otherwise, it's just a fast double kick.
Ah. So this isn't the blast beat?
No.
Oh. What a fucking tune. So imagining this is kicking off the next campaign of Bad Omens lore.
But then it's not billed as a Bad Omens song. It's Bad Omens
And Poppy.
and Poppy. But it is very much musically like Bad Omens, isn't it?
But thing is I feel like you wouldn't spend your money on a music video if it wasn't going to be part of something bigger for your band.
Yeah. But they are both on the same label, so
Uh,
shared promotion.
yeah.
And aren't they touring together
that would make sense.
at the moment?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Over in Europe at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they absolutely are. Poppy's opening it for Bad Omens. Would be interested to see some videos of that one being played live and what Noah does in the meantime when he's not required.
Just stands there. We done yet?
Well, what do we make of that, my friends? Feel free to let us know. Shout out to Nevin, who's joined us today, saying, whoa, new Bad Omens. Let's go. Indeed, my friend. Well, if you are just joining us in about 3 minutes' time, we will have Sam from Shields on the show. And Shields, I mean, speaking of making returns recently, I say recently, it's about 4 months ago, made a return with a song called Bury Me, which...
Bury me.
Bury Me.
Bury St. Edmunds.
Which this goes hard. Big fan of this.
You're a fan of things that go hard, aren't you?
Oh God. There we go.
Should probably,
Put the music video up. There it is.
All alone in my head again. Can't even feel my feet as I step off the ground. 7 hells beneath my bed. Nocturnal pollution is eating up
There's going to be a lot of riff talk on today's show, isn't there?
7 hells.
if you want it to be riff talk,
Nocturnal pollution is eating up my life.
Tell you what, that was a crisp drum fill.
very crisp.
Like, that was like Sleep Token-esque.
Love that tone.
Yeah.
Intertwined in a bird's nest of nightmares. Delicately unraveling myself from the trauma I feel myself in.
Well, the reason we've just been enjoying Bury Me by Shields, my friends, is because it is an honor to introduce live onto the Jon Mahon Show right now one of the human beings responsible for putting together that song. Please welcome Sam from Shields.
Hello.
Yo.
Yo.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, not bad. I can't tell you how close I just cut it. I literally just joined the call and you're like, and introducing.
Oh, no, we were waiting, ready.
Oh, yeah, we were waiting for you. We were just enjoying the sounds of Bury Me, which came out
sick.
4 months ago. And how's that song had a reception from a band perspective?
Pretty cool, man. Like it's odd. It's an odd one because the intention of what we wanted to do with Shields when we made that track and released it is very different to where we're at now. So it had a pretty good reaction, man. Everyone who knew us before was stoked. We've made some new fans as well. And yeah, I mean, it's a weird one because that song is a very like, I basically wrote the bulk of that song and then I collaborated on the lyrics with Joe. And what ended up happening was we kind of just made a song that we felt was just quintessentially us. We didn't really weren't specifically trying to push any boundaries. I just wanted to make a banger, if you know what I mean. And that's what we tried to do. And, you know, it's all subjective. So if you disagree, you're wrong, I'm wrong, whatever.
Your opinion is wrong. But that was
Save it for the Facebook comment section.
That was like your sort of return song, wasn't it? Because I spoke to you briefly at Burn It Down, which was your first show back. And wasn't that the reason you reformed pretty much?
What was the reason, sorry?
Burn It Down Festival last year.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well remembered. That is true because we weren't really talking about bringing Shields back, but what happened was the year before, but the Burn It Down festival that happened the year prior, I performed at that with my solo project Kubrick, and Joe, who is the vocalist Shields, was playing guitar for me, and it just so happened that the other two members, Alex and Larry, were also playing in our Holloway home. And the four of us have all stayed in contact with all mates, but we hadn't all been in the same room together in since the band broke up, 5 years prior to that. And so it was a weird moment. So we got a picture together. I ended up just posting on Instagram because it was just nice. And then off the back of that photo, we had like 3 show offers, and then
Amazing.
and we hadn't like announced we were coming back or even necessarily like fully or been like we're back. That was just like because we were together. But off the back of that, we had promoters asking us if we were going to play gigs or and show offers started coming through. And one of those first show offers and the one that initially did catch our eye was Burn It Down, because we played it. Matt, who's the promoter of who runs the festival, his first ever gig he ever put on was a Shields headline show.
Oh, damn.
So he's a mate. We go back, and so it just felt quite fitting. And we just thought at the time, like, well, fuck it, like we're being offered a sick gig, great festival, great bands. We know it's going to kick ass. Like, why would we rob ourselves of the joy of playing another gig as Shields? And then that just kind of turned into me going, well, what if we released a song? And then that would make it more exciting. And then we made the song and we did that. And then we were getting all our shit together and rehearsing to play. And we were like, we're making all this effort and we're loving it. Why not? Let's actually do this again properly. So it's not entirely clear to, I think, our fans and people in general that we're like back. So we want to make that more clear as things go on. There'll be more for me to say about that, about future plans as in the coming weeks. But for now, I would just want to say we are actually back and we are a full-time band and we're planning to hit the road and release music and everything. If that wasn't clear. And that going back to a question you had about the reaction to Bury Me, I think what a lot of people thought it was like, oh, they've just put out a song. That's cool. Like there's another Shield song. I don't think we quite nailed going, hey, we're actually like back and we're like a full-time band again. But that's all right because we weren't even sure what we were doing at the time anyway. Whereas now we're a bit more like, not a bit more, we're now 100% like certain that this is something we want to throw all our energy into again. It was a necessary 5 years away from the band to know that as well, I think.
Hell yeah. What an answer, Sam, because there's so much in there to dissect. I mean, firstly, like the wholesome nature of just someone from your past being the reason why you all came together again and, you know, reigniting that fire, the power of social media, posting a picture and all of a sudden, like, people being like, well, I'm guessing they're back together. So, like, let's not waste any time and put them back in a room. And I mean, in terms of that first show at Burn It Down Festival, you know, being back on stage, like, with your boys after all that time, was there a particular moment or a particular song on that show that sticks out as like a reconnection moment where everyone's like, fuck it, we need to do this again?
I mean, by the time we played, but by the time we even were at Burn It Down, we were already pretty pumped. Like we didn't need any more convincing before we even got there. But when we were playing that show, it was weird. It did feel like we were dusting off the Shields cobwebs again, because we've all been busy and touring and playing in bands and doing things and sessioning or joining bands or whatever. But, you know, it'd been a long time since we played these songs and it'd been a long time since we played them together. And the only difference between our lineup then and now is we have a different drummer. Alex did not. Our original drummer, Alex, is married and has a house and has 2 wonderful kids, and that's his priority. So yeah. he did not join us. But the 4 of us were very happy. And I think for me, we have a song that we probably are going to be playing less and less live. But for me personally, we have a song called But This Feels Worse, which is, it's a heavy song, but the first 2 minutes is like just clean guitars and it's instrumental. And it has this big dramatic emotional metalcore drop. And it's just so much fun to play live. But it's weird. With our fans, it's very popular. But with people who don't necessarily know us, they might not have heard of it, if that makes sense. But I mean, whenever we play I Just Feel Hate live, we always, if anyone knows us, they're singing it because it's the first song that made anyone pay attention to us. Probably I Just Feel Hate or But This Was Worse would be like, definitely like, yeah, we're back. This is cool. We're doing these songs again. But, you know, it's weird because these songs are old and we are very keen to release new music and to be back in the stratosphere as like a modern band. So
hell yeah.
That is what I'm really looking forward to doing. So it's odd because, dude, like, I Just Feel Hate particularly, man. I'm 29 now. I wrote that song when I was like 17. So it's very odd to be playing it still, but it's cool. It's awesome that, you know, something that I came up with in my mate's bedroom on like GarageBand or whatever, or Logic Pro, like back in the day, like has like survived like a decade plus and people still listen to it and we're still able to play it. And it's still not on Spotify, which people will give us a hard time about, but we'll do something about it, I promised. So yeah, I don't even know what your question was. I just started talking.
Ah, I'm here for it, man. I'm absolutely here for it. And let's rewind back to Bury Me, which you dropped 4 months ago. And like, what I love about that is the vocal style that you were bringing to it, especially like that falsetto top. Like, I really love the juxtaposition between like heavy riffs and when someone's got like a really pure falsetto going on. I mean, is that something that you've always had the capability to do? Is that something that you like really wanted to push and focus on, having like that diverse range of sounds going on with this new music?
I mean, diversity in music is always exciting, and I've always enjoyed pushing my own boundaries, whether it's singing like the highest top note I possibly can, like belting it, or if I'm screaming on something, because I do scream as well in Shields, like how low or brutal can I get or emotional can I get my vocals to sound. And the 5 years between Shields ending and coming back, like I said, I've been busy, and I've still been making music and touring, and I started this solo project, which is just sort of self-titled as Kubrick, which is my surname. And that I experimented a lot with my vocals, and I sort of discovered the fun that is like sort of Michael Jackson-y falsetto range, where you can sing comfortably way higher than if you were to like belt it, like in a typical metalcore chorus setting. And I don't know if it was like specifically intentional, like, oh yeah, I want to have loads of more falsetto stuff and the Shield stuff, but just my style as an individual has developed, and my range as a vocalist has grown, and my capabilities are far superior now than they were when Shields ended. So I think just naturally, like, the different vocal styles I like to do have just worked their way into like my, let's say, singing vernacular of like tools to pick from, whether it's because, you know, if I'd sung that chorus all belting, it would have had a very different vibe to it. I mean, I think probably somewhere in the corner of my subconscious of all the emo music I used to listen to as a teenager, there's probably like a lot of Fall Out Boy influence.
Yeah,
because that he used to, I can't remember the guy's name. I think he's called Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick
Stump.
He has big, powerful, belty vocals, but then isn't afraid to go. Ooh, like
he hits some of those high notes.
Yeah,
Dogs can hear.
Yeah, man's on whistle tones.
Man's on something else, man. He's crazy. He's sick. But yeah, man, it was not like I wasn't specifically like, yeah, I want to work more falsetto into this. It falsetto singing just worked its way into my arsenal, I would say, and it just appeared that way. That's the kind of way I think about it. I try not to think about writing songs in a way of like, oh, I want to make sure that this style's in there or that style's in there. Yeah. It's usually whenever it comes to songwriting in general for me, I'm thinking like, what is the song I want to make? How do I want people, you know, like everyone's got a song or like an album or like a few songs that like they always go back to for nostalgia, or like there's a certain feeling it gave them and they want to listen to that song again because it sends them back to a certain time or anything. Like the intention of creating that feeling in your listener is kind of where I'm coming from as a songwriter. A lot of the times, like I want someone to listen to this and cry their eyes out, or I want someone to listen to this and want to get off their sofa and just start pitting to no one. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I think about it. So when I'm adding different vocal styles into a song, it's my thought process is like, is this going to sound good? Is this going to serve the feeling? Is this going to serve the song? Is this intentional or is it accidental? And that's kind of where my brain goes. I'm less thinking about how is this going to be impressive and more, hey, how is this going to make like an absolute killer song? Do you know what I mean? Does this work? Does it make sense?
So I've always said that I'm like, I don't care what genre the music is in, as long as it makes me feel something, whether that's anger, I don't know, sadness, happy, whatever it is. If it makes me feel something, I'm going to like it. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot more with heavy music now, is the crossover of like bringing pop elements in, or like R&B elements into metal. And I think it's just like, it's representative of like what people listen to at home. So it's not just like, oh, I'm a metal kid anymore, I'm this and that. It's like, I like a bit of everything.
And what's cool as well, man, is that like metal bands are getting a lot more like experimental and there's a willingness for versatility in like composing, and whether, you know, there's we all love a good riff and a good breakdown and a good sing-along chorus, but you know, like like Bad Omens, for example, were like, who everyone knows, we're a straight up metalcore band, and now they're like an American Bring Me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Bring Me the Horizon, perfect example. Like listen to their first ever EP and it's like bedroom trash deathcore, and now they're like hyper reduced like metal pop insanity. It's sick, and they've gone through all those flows, and it's dope. Like it's super dope. Yeah,
I'm absolutely here for it, man. Like, I've been the biggest fan of dance music for like at least 10 years now, and I love seeing bands use stuff like synthesizers. And there was a massive stigma surrounding like laptop bands, quote unquote, like especially sort of during the Warped Tour era, where it was like, oh, that's just a laptop band, like everything's just coming out of a laptop. And it's like, why did we ever demonize that? Like, why was that ever a bad thing, that when a band play live, they want something more sat in the mix that isn't just guitars, drums and bass and vocals? Like, they want that extra element of depth when people are seeing them live, especially for the first time at something like a Warped Tour, which, like bands like yourself, like you rely on festivals like that, like those festivals that will put your band on. It's like, you don't get to have a great like sound check or anything like that. It's usually just like a quick line mix. Is everything working? Is everything plugged in? Cool. Is the laptop working? Sick. All right, let's fucking go rip it.
I feel that. I mean, I have a slightly different opinion on that, because I know the laptop band thing, like, you're right, like who most bands in and out of metal use backing tracks and laptops and stuff. And it's there's so much. Well, the thing is, there's so much that like technology is now brought to like live playing that is insane. Where it's like, for example, I have like all my like effects changes on my guitar programmed, and I don't feel guilty about that, because it just means I can focus on the three most important things, which is my visual performance, my guitar playing, and my singing. I don't want to be fucking around with the pedal. No one cares if I'm hitting the delay pedal on or off, or the pitch change, like as long as it's happening. But I still very much maintain that I'm going to play my instrument. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of bands, not going to name any that I know of, but there are bands who everything's on the tracks except for the drums and the vocals.
Yeah, that's the issue that I do draw the line there, where it's like, hold on, are we still fucking doing our job here?
That's a laptop. Or like, and hey man, like this is the thing, like this is such an interesting conversation actually about this, because it's like I went to Reading Festival maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. I've been before that, but that was the last time I went, and I remember being quite taken aback at the drop in quality of like live performances. There were some astonishing bands, as always. Like Loathe played, who are great, and Loathe do their thing. But then there's also then like KSI on the main stage, and who's that guy, Kid Laroi, who had that song "Stay."
Yeah,
and,
I think I saw
these sort of like instantly famous artists through TikTok or whatever, who then get thrown onto a huge stage, and they've written a banger that's got like millions and millions and millions of plays. But then fuck me, like there's a guy standing behind a desk who's apparently doing something, and then there's a vocalist who's singing along to the recording of himself and is sometimes doing the vocalist or just going like this, and there's like no, but then the crowd don't care, they just want to see the famous person on stage. And I don't know, this is such a subjective thing, so there's no right answer to this, but for me, I just think that's really sad, because it's kind of like how no one would criticize vocalists for being not perfect like 40, 50 years ago, before autotune existed. But now the quality of everything's been raised. There's a standard that needs to be met. So, for example, I don't use autotune live, but loads of bands in this scene do. It's just a fact. Yep. Maybe I'm smoke and mirrors has gone here. Nah. It's not. I have performed with autotune before when I was sessioning for a band, because I was just hooked into their rig, and that was a fun experience, because it was kind of like, it kind of feels like cheating. But then I also realized, for example, like you cannot be a crap vocalist and expect autotune to fix you live. You'll still be crap.
Yeah.
And it'll still, and then if you're crap, people will notice you using autotune, because it fixes you in a broken way. Whereas if you're singing really, really, really well and you're already a great singer, it's these gentle little nudges that tuck you into shape, and most people won't notice. I find myself playing a game whenever I'm out with friends of mine, like if we're at a gig or something. I'm always, if there's a band that sound like a bit too good, I'm always, if I have like a backstage pass or something, I always try and like take a sneak peek at their rig or something, like, oh, what's going on here? But the laptop band thing, man, is interesting. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with bands doing things to improve their sound, but I think there's a line that doesn't even really need to be talked about in much detail, where it's like, you're not really.
I think it's fine if you have like, say you've got a bit of guitar in the background that's just adding like ambience or whatever, or atmosphere, but if you put in like your main guitar riff on the track, then I think that's a bit too far.
Yeah,
it's a bit too much.
I mean, I wouldn't even go as far to say that's too far. I mean, we have a rhythm guitar on the track that's playing basically the same thing as me, and then or harmonies or second parts, but I'm always playing.
Yeah,
but
it's to beef up your sound, isn't it? Really.
Well, but it's because, if anyone who's watching this who is in a band or plays music who's just a fan, like, most of the time you're listening to a metal song, like in the studio version, there's two guitars in your ears playing the same thing, panned hard left and right. And that's just for like that stereo effect. It sounds wide and massive and big. And live, if you want the same thing, you replicate that by having two guitarists or one guitarist and the other guitar on the backing tracks. The way I justify that is that I play the hardest parts. I play the most flashy parts. I play the parts that need to be played live. And if it's a fucking breakdown, if I'm just going like like I'm still doing it. Yeah. And the other guitar part is also just I call it ghost sound, because it's just I've sat at my home and played it to click with the same guitar with the same amp sound. So it's then you have this perfect stereo image, and it's then I'm just in competition with myself to be as tight as myself, basically.
And that's my shit. That's my favorite shit.
There's just a limit. There's a line. And I think also from artist to artist, it changes. Because if you're like a hyper produced like pop artist, it makes sense that you can have more stuff on the tracks. But if you're like a punk band, if you're a punk band, you have a laptop, you're not a punk band. Do you know what I mean? Like it just depends.
Yeah, because I saw a video online recently. I wish I'd have saved it, because it was from the R&B genre, and like it was either a manager or a producer talking to talent. But from that genre, as you said, like the performance style is very much you show up either with a DJ or effectively with your set pre-mixed on a track, you plug it in, you press play, and you go over the top of it. And this guy's basically saying like, why are your vocals so high in the mix? Have harmonies on there, sure, but why is your lead vocal either on that mix in the first place or so high in it? Because it's like, what am I now watching live? Because the moment that a vocalist steps out on stage and what they're singing is on that track as well, you totally crush any live element. And I'm the biggest advocate of autotune. Like I even love like the proper like overly saturated autotune, like from like the T-Pain kind of era, because it's almost like an instrument when people manipulate it in that way.
But that's a creative decision. You're not hiding anything. Like I love that too. Like there's an artist I love called Breakance who utilizes like incredibly heavy autotune on some of his stuff. But you know, autotune is something that can be utilized.
It's a tool,
as a creative tool. Just like you could add distortion to a screaming vocal or like a delay throw. Yeah, like no, we all know that the voice is not capable of producing delay. So like, and we don't have a question about that. But you know, if you're it's a bit like, you know, like I don't know if you two are into like gym culture at all, but like, you know, like the whole like debate around dudes like who are like 260-pound like jacked ass dudes or like 25 or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm natural, when they're like taking steroids. And it's like, just be honest about the fact you're using steroids. It's fine. Yeah. Like, and actually don't lie about it, because that's dangerous. But lying about all dangerous. It's just annoying and misleading. That's what annoys me when people like claim to be super fucking sick and tight and a great vocalist, but there's either like a plethora of things going on the backing tracks and or they're running autotune. It's like, come on, man. That's my opinion anyway.
Lip syncing is steroids.
Lip syncing is the musical equivalent of taking tread.
Yeah, pretty much. It is pretty much. Or like, maybe it's the musical equivalent of like taking way too much pre-workout or something.
Yeah.
Or no, it's the equivalent of like taking a gym selfie in good lighting. And
you're just trying to pass it off as it's your own.
Yeah, physique. Just tuning it all up in post.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, face swap and shit.
Oh, well, let's talk about your solo stuff. You've alluded to it a couple of times, like the Kubrick stuff. When did you want to start experimenting with different sounds, and what did that project provide for you in the long run that's kind of supported how you are now providing music with Shields?
Well, Kubrick was born out of the fact that when Shields ended, I wasn't done with music, just my band had ended. So I just started writing tunes, and for a project, I was like, I'm not sure what this is. I just started writing music, and I was going to start a new band, and then I wasn't really sure. And I was 24 when Shields ended, and I'm 29 now, and that's not that big of an age gap, but 24 is a lot closer to being a child than 29 is. And I think I had a lot of ego around like wanting creative control at that point.
Interesting.
And I still like having my creative control, but now I really like enjoy and see the value in like making collaborative efforts when it comes to music. Like, but what I got out of Kubrick is I still wanted to do music. I still wanted to tour. I still wanted to perform live. And I eventually decided that I was going to be a solo artist. And I decided to call myself Kubrick because it's just my name. It's simple enough. And also, I would get endless questions about my granddad. And the moment I started referring to myself as Kubrick, the questions stopped. I was like, good. And so yeah, I just seized that opportunity. I was like, this is a new project. I can do what I want. I don't have to do metalcore. And Shields at that point really was just a metalcore band without. I'm proud of our previous releases, but it would be an inflation to say that Shields music was, whilst very good in my opinion, is just metalcore. So I figured, well, I have this scope now to explore other music I like, and I love dance music, and I love anything electronic if it sounds good. And I'm really into like Bruno Mars and Michael Jackson and Lorne and Blank Forms and Blank Banshee and Vaporwave and all this weird stuff that isn't heavy. But I never lost my love of heavy music. I still wanted to have, riffs that made you want to repeat the same 30 seconds over and over again. But I wanted to have other stuff. I wanted to just try and create my own take on genre, and I decided to do that by just making music I liked regardless of the genre. And I figured as long as it was coming consistently from me, it would sound consistent with whatever Kubrick became. And so I did that, and Kubrick was ongoing, and I toured with Bury Tomorrow, and I toured with Legends at Alaska, and I played a cool few festivals, and the project is dead. But when Shields came back around that time in my life, I had a lot of personal stuff going on that I'm still getting over, to be honest. But basically, Kubrick came on a bit of the back burner anyway because of personal life circumstances, and then this idea of Shields coming back happened. And because Shields was started by me and like one of my best friends in the entire world, who's the vocalist Joe, known him since we were like 11, there was so much joy in making something with him and then with the other guys as well, and being with friends. And I remember the importance of other people in my life. And so Kubrick kind of didn't end, but it just hasn't really had a lot of my attention because I've been focusing so hard on Shields. But Kubrick isn't dead. I still want to do Kubrick stuff. I actually even I don't mind sharing this because I've no representation with Kubrick other than a booking agent, so I can say and do what I want with it. But Kubrick has got new music that I haven't released. I've got like 5 or 6 songs worth for like an EP or something like that. So my plan is at some point this year is to actually like finish that, get it all recorded and mixed, and then get it released and start playing shows again. So that will happen. But Shields has been at the forefront of my focus recently.
Holy
so that's why
shit. Well, we will clip that as a fucking exclusive, bro. Thank you so much. Brand new Kubrick music coming in 2024. Let's fucking go.
It will happen. At least 5 songs, maybe more. We'll see. I'm not doing an album.
Yeah.
But I've uploaded music I haven't released, and I just need to think about how do I want that packaged.
Yeah.
Put out. Before I just did singles. I'd an endless bank of singles I prepared and then just rolled them out. And so I've sort of done a similar thing again where I wrote loads of music, and then outside personal life circumstances made me sad. And then I stopped doing all music for about 6 months, and then Shields, and here I am, basically.
Is it true you've also you're like a ghostwriter for some artists as well?
That's true. I have to think about who I'm actually allowed to mention though, because that would defeat the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I've written. That's actually a good point. So when I did the first Shields album, I'd never written an album before. I'd only written the Shields music at that point. And that album my first album, Life in Exile, probably took like the best part of 2 years just to write. It took so long. And then I kind of got into ghostwriting quite quickly after Shields. Actually, before Kubrick was even a sort of twinkle in my eye at that point. I got into ghostwriting sort of by accident because a friend of mine called Christoph, who's in a band called Anna's Okay, was like, hey, I'm recording this band right now who are just after some like help writing. Do you mind jumping in? And then I ended up writing like 15 songs for that band over like 4 years. Wow. And then through that and me posting about it, people sort of caught wind. And who can I talk about? Actually, I can talk about one band because it's not a secret. A band I ghostwrite for is a band called Spitting Teeth, who are basically Slipknot on steroids. It's a lot of fun. It's just, it's 110% energy from start to finish of all 7 of the songs I've done for them. That is very much, I write the music for that. And then Joel, the vocalist, it's usually his vision. He goes, I want a song like this. And then I go off and do it. And then he lays his vocals down and writes all the lyrics before he gets sent off to mix. But I do ghostwrite. It's not really as much. All I can talk about other than that is just, hey, if you want your tunes to be better than you're capable of, come to me. But that's advertise myself because
we'll clip that for a CV as well, bro. Because like,
do it because I can't say more than that because I would. Well, put it this way: if you want to know who I've worked for and you're interested in my ghostwriting, hit me up and I'll tell you in private. That I'm allowed.
Okay,
we're not saying that you write for Bring Me. Or...
That's so interesting though, because like especially like given the conversation that we were having earlier, like regarding production. I mean, ghostwriting is something that I feel like isn't talked about necessarily as much as it occurs, because of the fact that a lot of bands don't like people knowing that, hey, maybe we've had some assistance. And we had Stephen Battelle from Lost Alone on this show last year, and he co-wrote the new McFly album, and he was very open and forthcoming about that. McFly obviously owned it when Lost Alone went out, and yeah, he took Stephen on tour. He's coming out on stage and playing songs with them. But I mean, like, as someone with as much musical integrity as you, like, how do you feel about being a ghostwriter, like writing a banger, writing an anthem, but then having to almost stay quiet about it and no one really knowing it's your work or something that you helped make?
Well, who's to say I'm giving out the best stuff?
There he is.
No, I mean, it's a weird one, man, because the ghostwriting stuff, like, I'm never going to be as personally attached and emotionally involved with the stuff I ghostwrite than I ever could be for the stuff that I write for Shields or Kubrick, or any band that I'm a part of for that matter. So I'm not gonna lie, bro, ghostwriting is easy because it's so different. Like when you're writing, if either of you two are creative in any way and have like been in a band and made music, I know you're a DJ, Jon Mahon, but it's if you've ever created something that is like for you, that you want to put out under your name, it means so much more than anything else you could be involved in for someone else. And I've actually found when I'm writing for other people, I get out of my way. I can write a song for someone in 2 days at most.
Damn.
It does not take me long. But then, you know, I don't want to leave out the fact that if, you know, imaginary client goes, hey, we've got a deadline to finish our album before recording in like 2 weeks. We're struggling with like one more song. But we want to make something that's like really upbeat. We want it to sound like Architects, but we don't want the guitars to be super dropped low. We don't really bother about tempo. Keep it in this tuning. We'd love there to be a banging chorus, and if it could end with a breakdown, that would be sweet. I'm like, cool, done. Like, yeah. I'll just do it. And sometimes bands throw me, you know, they'll go, oh, we want a song like this. I've had like Polaris thrown at me, or like Suicide Silence, or like Harm's Way, Bad Omens, Dayseeker, fucking Metallica. Actually, one person hit me up with, and like, or you know, so it depends. But then, you know, I've built up pretty good relationships with the people I write with like regularly, and now it's a case of like, hey, we need another song, and I just fire it out. I'll be like, heavy or not heavy, sad or upbeat, sad, and it was like, okay, cool. There's like a bit of a thing.
Guess Who for bangers.
yeah, exactly. But you know, I also think that, you know, what I provide is the skeleton. Well, I provide the skeleton and the muscle and the veins for a song, but not the skin. And what really, like, you know, drives a song home, especially in metal, which is generally what I ghostwrite, like sort of metal alternative music, and a little bit of pop actually as well. But it's the vocals. You know, like if you took a Shields song and put Aaron Matz on it, it wouldn't sound like Shields. It'd sound like a completely different band. Like the vocalist of our band, Joe, has such a unique sounding voice. I personally think the only person who sounds like Joe is Joe. Whether you think he's got the most like brutal Lorna Shore scream or not, it's besides the point. Like, you know, there's room for that in metal. Like, oh, how impressive can your vocals be? But then individuality to me is way more interesting. Emotion behind a performance is more interesting. Whereas like, hey, how low can you go is fun for like one breakdown.
Yeah.
To me. So when it comes to, you know, ghostwriting, like the identity of a band is important, and it relies a lot on the vocalist ultimately. I do write top lines and vocals for bands if they want, but generally like bands will come to me and they need a song, and then they'll do the vocals themselves, which I don't mind being hands off in that process, because also if I write vocals, it's going to sound like Shields or Kubrick, or people are going to have an inkling. Like, yeah, I've had that before. Had people approach me who are sort of in the know about what I do, or know bands that we all like, and they'll go, did you write that? And I have to be like, shut up.
No.
But so yeah, like the vocals, I think, especially in metal, makes such a huge difference to like band music, I think. So you can, and that is the first thing that I think not everyone, but I think most like fans rather than people like in bands themselves, like the first thing they pay attention to is the vocal. Yeah. So that is a very crucial part. But that's kind of like why I think my sort of formula as a ghostwriter works, because I give people this, you know, here's all the bits, now you make the song. Yeah. Even though I am the song, I don't know, it's a perspective thing, and that's kind of how I see it. I actually recently bought a song back off someone because I wanted to release it. Yeah, because it was a song. It was a song I'd written for a band like 4 years ago. Not every song I ghostwrite will necessarily get released. Like that 15 songs I wrote for that first band I mentioned, I think 10 of them got released, and then the other 5, 2 of didn't get released, and 3 of they took some riffs from it, which is a bit naughty. But I had only just started, and I hadn't like put my policy in place about like allowed to use it and stuff. But I'm nice. I'm relaxed. I try and cater what I'm offering and how I can help bands to like what their needs are, rather than be like, this is what I do. If it doesn't fit, fuck off. Because then that's ridiculous. It's a creative industry, so you've got to be creative how you work with people, I guess.
Hell yeah. Dude, it's so interesting hearing you talk about that, because like having someone so openly honest about the work that they do outside of their own bands is very rare, and especially like someone being able to talk about some of the projects they've worked on in that detail. Like, it's so fascinating. And one thing I wanted to do was see if you remember what you were doing on the 22nd of April in 2016.
So specific.
Do you remember where you were?
Oh, yeah, of course I do. Shields played. We opened the Borderline for Algorithm, and you were the other support act, correct?
Well fucking remembered, bro. Yeah.
I know.
Bro. I'm so stoked that you remember that, because like I was putting together the presentation. I was like, I know for a fact that was the bill that night.
Yeah, dude. Well, I also remember that show for another reason as well, because I remember it was the start of like a bit of a health condition for me, which it doesn't exist anymore, where we kicked into our first song. At the time was a song called Jordan, and it's a big heavy song, and when it drops we all like do like the thing where like our legs are together and we're doing like the big like hinged back headbang
crabcore.
We not even crabcore, like the one where
just
like
the synchronized
it's kind of like bang, it's like down. And we always like launched into that, and I always go really aggressive, and I threw myself into the song, and then my head felt like it got split down the middle. Like my brain, like something happened, and I was like, what the fuck? And I like pulled back, and I was still playing, and the rest I made it through the rest of the set. I just didn't go as hard. I was like, that was weird. And I remember I went to the gym the next day, and I nearly passed out like 5 minutes onto like doing cardio. And I was like, what the fuck's wrong with me? And it turns out I had mad high blood pressure. Like this boy, I'd been living off. I was like, I don't know how old I was in 2016, and my math isn't that good, but I was, living off fucking chicken cottage and like Diet Coke. You know what I mean? I was young and able to do what the fuck I wanted and not worry about like how I looked or like how I felt. But apparently my blood pressure was just mad crazy. And the doctor was like, you need to not eat salt for like 3 weeks because you're about to be morbidly obese, apparently. And I wasn't even that fat. I was like, what? This is crazy. And so that gig has stuck in my mind as like the time I nearly apparently got diabetes or some shit.
Holy shit.
Diabetes from headbanging.
I have a lifestyle now, and I don't, minus this. That was a weird show actually, because there was like no space on that stage for us.
Yeah, the Borderline's tiny, isn't it?
It's such a ton, and like the algorithm obviously turns up with just synths, keyboards. Like it was, there wasn't much space kicking around, but that was the first time that I ever DJ'd as a support artist, and I got to share the stage with you. So it was an absolute honor that night, and it was an absolute blast. And Bring Me the Horizon were doing the Royal Albert Hall the same night, but I like to think we had more fucking fun that night.
Now I know why there was no one there. Yeah. There were people. It just wasn't crazy busy.
Yeah, there was still a strong algorithm representation in London that night. Well, Sam, just before we let you go, bro, like one of the reasons we do this show live is so that people can join and so that they can pass on their comments. And like a big part of like why we enjoy doing this is like giving fans the opportunity to just like either like speak to people or pass comments on. And whilst we've been on chatting to you, Haley appreciates the fact that you're back, just saying back, fuck yeah. Then you got
Let's go. Legend.
It's Drew's saying Sam Kubrick is the goddamn goat, baby.
Yeah. Drew, do you not know who Drewzif is?
Don't think
so.
Bro.
Drewzif is Drewzif is a sick, like, I don't know how to describe you, dude. He's in a band, but he's an amazing guitarist, and he does like social content, and I think he went on that Nick Nocturnal's like Metalcore Mansion thing recently. He's sick.
Oh, really?
Big up,
Did
Druzy.
watch
He's
that,
a legend.
yeah.
Holy shit. Well, Joseph, if you ever want to come on this show, you're always
He's
more
like
than welcome.
internet metal royalty, dude. He's sick.
Holy
Big up, Drew.
shit. Let's go. Shout
Drew's in
out
the chat.
Joseph. Yeah, if you ever want to come on, you're more than welcome to. Our boy Elliot got in touch to say Joe has a fantastic voice, especially when listening to his old and his new songs. The maturity is fucking amazing.
Legend. Thank you, man. I mean, he's not here to thank you, but I'll thank you on his behalf.
And Rays says Sam's a great dude and amazing performance and vocalist. Definitely Kubrick highlight was seeing you on stage with Novelist in Southampton.
Oh, damn. That was one of my favorite shows I've ever played. Appreciate you, whoever that was.
Holy shit. Well, before we let you go, dude, I know you mentioned earlier on the show new Kubrick music coming this year, probably in the form of an EP. Where is Shield sat at the moment in terms of churning out some new stuff?
It's happening. That's all I feel like I'll be allowed to say without getting trouble from my label.
Fantastic.
It's happening. It's coming.
I will say this: we are actively pursuing a new release. That's all I can say.
Hell yeah. Well,
Yeah.
watch Shield Space, my friends. New music, hopefully, in 2024. But Sam, honestly, we cannot thank you enough for your time. And as soon as a new tune drops and you want to come on here and talk about it, we'll promo and press you all that we can to help support it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, boys.
Hell yeah. Well, my friends, show a lot of love and appreciation for Sam from Shields.
Yeah.
Appreciation.
Cheers, bro. Thank you, man. Take care.
Legend.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Great
That was
great
Sam.
first interview of the day. Well, my friends, that is it for hour one of today's show. Coming up inside hour two, we will be joined by Chris from The Ghost Inside.
From the spookiness within.
The spookiness within at 8:15.
Should I say that?
But yeah, Joseph, great to meet you. If you ever want to come on this show, like, you're always more than welcome to do so. I would love to chat to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send a Zoom link.
Yeah. Get
jump in.
us on Instagram.
Anytime you want.
Let's connect and let's stay in touch. But yeah, my friends, that is it for hour one. Don't go anywhere. The first thing we're going to do, kicking off hour two, we're going to break down this Download Festival lineup, and then 8:15, we got Chris from The Ghost Inside on the show.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
In a bit.
Boy. Yes, my friends, and welcome back to the Jon Mahon Show, powered by Forever Loud.
Powered by Forever Loud. Almost breaking news.
Yeah, breaking-ish news. I mean, this is as fresh as news can get as regards
Hot
to this
off
show.
the press.
Yeah.
Download Festival
Yep.
have announced a bunch. Do you know how many?
I was trying to find an article somewhere. Gone are the days where news outlets used to just tell you how many names and give you a list.
Because you want to get it out as soon as possible, innit?
Yeah. But you'd have thought that there'd have been...
But anyway, we're going to go through it and figure out who's been added.
Yeah, we'll try and figure out the new additions. But Download Festival 2024 is looking like this. Holy shit, that main stage.
Holy smokes.
Well, fresh out the gate, what I'm going to say, the name that sticks out to me is a guest that joined us on the first ever episode of the Jon
The
Mahon Show.
Struts. No?
No, way off. On the first ever episode of the show, we were joined by Rao Reynolds from Enter Shikari, who are third from top on the main stage, sitting very nicely between the Baby Metal and the Offspring.
I was saying this before the show. That's a very fun stage.
Yeah, it is.
That's some good vibes.
Yeah, like Baby Metal into Shikari, into the Offspring, into Fallout Boy on a Saturday night at
I just
Donington.
hope the Baby Metal curse. Do you remember the last time Baby Metal played the main stage? I don't know if it was the last time, but when I remember seeing them 2016, and as soon as they started playing, the heavens opened, and it was the word. It was like that proper when it like flooded everywhere. So let's hope Baby Metal don't.
Fingers crossed, because that choreography in the rain is.
Well, that's the thing, because they started playing and then they had to go off stage.
Dry the stage.
While people wipe the stage.
Yeah. The other name that sticks out to me on that main stage is a band that I actually got to see at Blue Ridge Festival last year. They were a last minute addition to the festival. They only had half an hour. I think it was in support of the fact they had a brand new album coming out. But Black Stone Cherry. Oh, get them up high. Now we're gonna go from side to side, front to back to front to back. Here we go. Oh,
What does that even mean?
yeah. Catch me throwing shapes to White Trash Millionaire.
I love Blackstone Cherry.
Same, man. They're so much fucking fun.
Like, just that southern rock metal guitar riffs, because they're all sort of like, where are they from? Tennessee? Kentucky, see?
Yeah.
So they're all like, they've got their roots in like country and shit, but then they put distorted guitars on there.
Unfuckwithable.
His voice is just the most American voice.
Yeah, 100%.
And I love it.
Is it that his name isn't John Fred? John Fred's the drummer.
John Fred's the drummer.
Yeah. Yeah, which is the most American name as well.
John Fred.
My name's John Fred. My
Sorry.
daddy's name was John Fred.
Sorry if that's offensive.
Well, I'm trying to spot some of the other new names on the main
The
stage.
Struts are new.
The Struts are definitely new.
Frank Carter.
Frank Carter's a new one. I'll tell you who's new on there as well. Code Orange.
Code Orange are so good live.
Yeah.
I saw them at Loud and Life. They clashed with Weezer, which was a bit bad for them. But because obviously Weezer's like a good, like upbeat fun.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I'm in the mood for some riffs. So I turned around, went to the Code Orange stage, and it was fucking chaos. Just like insane walls of death.
Oh, man.
Like their stage presence is so good.
Unbelievable.
And them on the main stage would be fucking sick.
Yeah, like, it's a great band. Although, to be fair, the fact that it goes from Code Orange to Bowling for Soup is quite the juxtaposition, and I'm into it. I'm absolutely into it. And
Yeah, it sort of starts off heavy, and then it's like,
you go pop punky.
let's go 2000s pop punk, baby.
Yeah. It isn't, like, to be fair, the way they've structured that Sunday, it's a nice little run of nostalgia. Soup into Sum 41, into Biscuit, into Sevenfold.
Yeah. That's another fun day. Sunday
fun day. Right.
Sum 41.
Let's take a little look-see at what the second stage is saying. So, who's sticking out to you on here, Ollie?
We got been added? Tom Morello, Electric Callboy
On a big stage
on a
as
big
well.
stage because last year
They were on the Avalanche stage.
and
There was not a chance.
no, I missed it because I was to drive somewhere. But wasn't it like pouring out of the tent?
Yeah, you couldn't. You do it like I don't think I even tried to. To be fair, I saw Electric Callboy a few times last year, but I didn't even try at Download. They clashed with someone as well. There was a big clash on that day between Electric Callboy and someone else. I
yeah.
can't remember who I went for. I want to say maybe like I Prevail
But I think they're one of those bands that probably got booked
before they blew up. Yeah.
as much as they did.
Yeah, so it's great to see them getting huge second stage slot.
I'm a fan when festivals invite a band back for the next year
Yeah,
because it doesn't happen that often, especially the big ones.
yeah. No, it's like here's a rate of progression. Like,
Yeah.
it's great to see a band going from Avalanche stage middle of the day to 3 from top on the second stage. Big fan of the fact Machine Head are headlining that stage on the Sunday night as well.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a choice between Avenged Sevenfold and Machine Head, I'm going Machine Head.
Rain with a shotgun blast.
Oh my god.
They never really clash though, do they? The two headliners. They always the second one is always a bit starts a bit earlier.
But then that would mean Limp Bizkit and Machine Head clash. I can't see that happening.
I can see that happening.
Can you? Yeah. What else have we got on the Opus stage that's recently been added? Scene Queen was part of the initial announcement. Were Harriet part
Of Mice and Men have been added. I saw them last year.
They have.
You forget how good they are.
Of Mice and Men.
Like how many bangers they've got.
Yeah. Like Second
Isn't that
Severin.
Bones Exposed. Remember that?
Bones Exposed.
Ouch.
Big tune. I've just realised we haven't cropped that exactly what it should have been a little bit there. But anyway, let's move on to the third stage because this is where
the
shit gets real.
This is where the comment sections are going to kick off. When I get after the show, I'm going to go straight on Downloads Facebook page just to see the busted.
Like,
because I'm a fan. Like, I'm not the biggest Busted fan, admittedly, but it doesn't annoy me that they've been added.
Dude, Busted are the reason why I'm fucking here doing shit
that's the
like
thing.
this.
People forget that a lot of people's gateway into rock music is through bands like Busted.
Yeah.
McFly.
Me, I'm a walking, talking example of that. Like, it was Busted's live album.
That was what you went to school for.
Yeah.
In the year 3000.
Oh, but yeah, that comment section for Busted is going to be hilarious. It's
and just before Busted,
yeah,
good old Wheatus.
Yeah, like, so I tweeted this earlier when Vukovi put up their announcement saying that they were doing this. I replied to that tweet saying, "Catch me dropping spin kicks during Creepy, crying during Teenage Dirtbag, and then tuck jumps during Air Hostess." Like, what a Friday night that is.
Yeah. Shame Iron Maiden weren't playing, because then they could have 2 tickets to Iron Maiden.
There he is. And do you know what we were talking about?
Come with me Friday, because they're playing Friday.
Yeah, don't say maybe. Yeah. Whoever put Wheatus on the Friday night just for that deserves a raise and a firm handshake. Yeah, because Escape the Fate being just below Vukovi, we were saying before we went on, that's huge for Vukovi because, you know, Escape the Fate, very decently sized band.
Yeah.
So it's a huge booking for Vukovi. Like, if you're a fan of analysing the structure in which bands run on festivals.
And like, I feel like they've deserved it for a while now.
Well, my friends, we're going to have to pause reacting to our Download Festival alignment for 2024 because joining us right now is a man who's actually played Download Festival in the last couple of years. They were on the Avalanche stage, not last year, the year before, I want to say.
Years
are all merging into one. Welcome to the show, the guitarist and the ghost inside, our boy Chris!
What's up? How's it going, guys?
Oh, how's it going, bro?
You're sounding crisp. I like it when people have proper mics.
I'm a little bit of an audio nerd, if I'm being honest.
You sound amazing. We could get used to this kind of treatment.
You guys need to just start forcing people to have a proper setup. That's what the issue is here.
We've interviewed some people that are in their studios or their like music rooms, but they're just using
the iPhone,
earbuds or whatever it is.
What's the point of having all the toys if you're not going to use them? You know?
Chris takes too much pride in his job.
Exactly.
Well, dude, it is an honor to have you on the show. Thank you ever so much for your time. How's life been at the moment? What have you been up to?
It's been great. I've not been up to a lot, actually. We've been off for a little bit now. We finished a summer co-headline tour with Under Oath in North America last August, and we've pretty much been off since then. We played a couple shows. Like, we were one of the only bands that got to play the legendary yet also dreaded Blue Ridge Rock Fest in Virginia. We played about an hour before all hell broke loose and the whole thing got canceled, so that was cool. And then we started this annual festival show thing that we call the Rebirthday Bash. We do it around the anniversary of our accident every November. So we played that this past November in San Diego in California. And other than that, we've just been off. I'll give you guys a little bit of a scoop here.
Nice.
When we finished the Under Oath tour, we went immediately into recording our new record. So that took a lot of time, and we've been kind of working on what the rollout process of that will look like. So that's been consuming the majority of our time that we've been home. Last year we toured more than we had since we have been active again, post accident. So we decided to take some time off, chill out a little bit, let our bodies rehab, because, we're on top of being in an accident, we're all getting old and fat at this point. So we figured what better time to work on a record than, then. So that's kind of where we're at.
Holy shit. Well, there is so much to unpack in that opening statement. We'll get to Blue Ridge Festival in a second, but let's start there with the new music, because your latest offering, Death Grip, man, what a fucking banger that is.
Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty stoked on that one. We actually thought that there was going to be a different song that would come out at the time that Death Grip came out. And some of the guys went and did a writing session, like immediately after the Under Oath tour finished, and that was the first song that came out of that session, and we all immediately kind of went like, oh yeah, this is the one. This one has to come next.
Hell yeah. And I mean, like, if you love the Ghost Inside, this is everything that you love about what your band does best. I mean, like, the guitar tones, like in the verses, like the speed of the song, like the way it changes and punches at just the right point, like the breakdown, like, what's the atmosphere like when you're in the studio and you just feel everyone firing on all cylinders?
So this one was actually a little bit different than how it typically is. Like, back in the day, and the beginning of the band, which I wasn't there for, but I've asked a ton of questions about, because, I got to come into this band as a fan. So I wanted to know all the things that your average fan would want to know, like, who wrote this part? What was it like making this record? What was that producer like? I asked all those questions. And so, in the beginning of the band, it was the typical band way pre-digital age. That was the very beginning of the digital age, where you could write a song by yourself in your bedroom on a laptop and send it to your bandmates. So a lot of the earlier stuff was written with Aaron, our old guitar player, and our drummer, just sitting in a room writing together. And this was the first time where we worked with multiple producers. So we worked with Dan Braunstein. We worked with Tyler Smith, who does like Falling in Reverse and I Prevail, and like we spread out. We worked with a ton of people, so that was different for us. Normally we pick a producer, we just go, and it starts finish one person. So it honestly, this time it was like all about creativity. Like, let's just not put any guardrails on what we're doing here. Let's just have fun and explore and see where it ends up. And I actually think that, like, you mentioned that Death Grip, if you like the Ghost Inside, it's got kind of everything that we do. And I agree with that. It kind of covers all the bases. It goes from like stupid heavy kind of in Neanderthal knuckle dragger heavy stuff, but also has like the melodic guitar lines and like the punk beats and stuff. But I also feel like it has an element of like freshness to it, where it feels a bit more modern than some of the last records did, where we're kind of like trying to push the boundaries in all directions. And this is like such a cliche thing. I feel like every band in our genre says it, but like, we want the heavy stuff to be heavier. We want the melodic stuff to be more melodic. And like, we're tired of doing the same thing. So we're trying to figure out how to like sound like our band, but also like do it in a newer, fresher way, if that makes sense.
So is Death Grip off this new session you've been doing for the new album? Or
yes, it will be on the record.
Yeah.
Both that and Earn It. And I there will be more that can be talked about sooner rather than later.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, both songs that we released last year will be a part of the record. Yep.
That's amazing. Well, we won't push you too much from Facebook.
No,
we don't want to get you into any trouble. We just need you to know that like the sounds that you are churning out at the moment, like it is so fresh and like when I first heard Death Grip, it almost. And like, please don't take offense to this. It almost felt like a commercial version of your band, like so accessible. Sure. Like, you know how like heavy music is having such a resurgence at the moment with, you know, your Bad Omens, Sleep Tokens, Bring Me the Horizons. Like you guys are still very much on the heavier end of that scale. Sure. But for the people who maybe are just finding this genre and this way of life, like it feels like the most accessible song that you've written.
I could maybe see that. I feel like maybe Earn It, the other song we put out last year, was maybe a little bit more accessible unintentionally. But that was part of this whole like, let's not put rules on it. You know, like I feel like when we did the self-titled record, our first record after the accident, it felt very much like we had these boundaries we had to stick in because we had a very defined vision of like what the quote unquote comeback record should be. That like I think we sold ourselves short in a few ways as far as exploring creatively and like trying new things that I think we wanted to try that maybe we were a little too scared to try. And I think that yeah, it's maybe not intentionally more accessible, but I think that we're willing to like hear out an idea, and if it's good, we just use it, you know. And I think that we've gotten to the point now where you know, obviously anybody in a band wants people to enjoy the music they're making, but I think first and foremost is we're just writing stuff that we're excited about. And if we're excited about it, we're just putting it out, you know. There may be stuff we put out that people don't love, and that's okay with me, because I've never been more proud of a collection of songs that I've been a part of ever in my entire life. And that's what's important to me. So, you know, we'll see what happens from there. But as far as like the song, I love what we did with this record.
So we were just talking about this before, about music sort of has to evoke a feeling now. It's like when you're writing, do you think about the feeling more than you do like what genre it is or what style of music it is? As long as it makes you feel something, that's probably the most important part, I think.
Yeah, I mean, especially being in a band. This band's been around for a long time now, and all of us played in bands before we joined this band. Like, you know, Vigil is our singer's the only original member left. And the band, he's like kind of collected members over the years from other bands that he's toured with, you know? And so all of us have been we've all been doing this for a really long time. And at this point, we're just looking for something that like makes us excited, you know, like we have to be excited. We're the ones that have to go play the songs every day for months at a time and be away from home. So first and foremost, like the five of us have to like vibe off of it and get excited about it. And I just hope that, and I feel like if you do that in a genuine way, fans can relate to that and they can feel that and they tend to vibe with it also. But so it's got to be genuine, but you have to be excited about it. You know, it's a really fine line, I feel like, but I think that when it's genuine, everyone in the band or everyone in the room immediately knows that like you're onto something and follow that path.
Hell yeah. And for me, dude, like the self-titled record, like Post Accident, is one of the most genuine bits of music, not just I've heard from you, but from any band, period. Like from what you guys went through, as you mentioned, with the accident, through to writing that record, and more often than not, bands self-title an album because that is the record that they want to be associated with their band name. It's one of their most proudest bits of work. Was that the feeling when you left the studio? It's like, we have to call this album The Ghost Inside.
Well, actually, Jim, our bass player, he pitched the concept of self-titled before we even got into the studio to start tracking. We had probably 75 to 80% of the music and lyrics for the record written already. But we hadn't actually sat down with Will Putney and Jerry McKinnon to like kind of sort through stuff. And the record for sure like shifted from there. But we kind of went in with the mindset of like, this is what our band does. This is what our band sounds like. This is the story of our band. I mean, ultimately we went in not wanting to write a record about the accident, you know, like it's a huge part of our story, but we didn't want to like solidify ourselves as like the accident band or whatever. But naturally, you know, when you're writing from a sincere place, which Vigil does, and the general theme of the band, which tends to be these like perseverance, I will overcome, uplifting things, like naturally a lot of it ended up being about the accident. So we really like I said in a way earlier about how we like had these guardrails up about how we like maybe didn't try some stuff we wanted to, like we kind of just stuck to what the band did on that record, musically speaking. And then the topic of like overcoming all of the hardships that led up to, you know, 4 years into making that record, it just kind of felt like it was the band's sound. I feel like doing it better than ever, and our story like through and through. So it just like, it's weird that he pitched the concept of self-titling the record before we got to that point, but it ended up just fitting so well with the overall lyrical concept of the entire record. When it wrapped up in the end, it was like this weird serendipitous, like the universe was speaking to him. It was like, this is what you have to do. And it just worked out perfectly.
Oh, I love that so much. Cause yeah, like, not just listening to that record, but when you see that record live, especially tunes like 1333, man, where you know, you got Virgil screaming from the ashes, brought back to life just before that breakdown, like drop kicks you around the face. Like how much like melodic aggression came naturally during that, because some of the tones of your guitars and like the breakdowns, dude, like you can physically feel the weight of them when they're inside your head.
Oh yeah, so I'm gonna have to give a lot of credit to Will Putney, our producer for that record on it. I mean, that's just his style. And you know, the band had worked with Andrew Wade and Jeremy McKinnon for the previous 2 records, and so when it came time to do this record, it was like, okay, maybe it's time to like venture outside of that and see who else we could potentially work with. And we had a call with a couple different producers. And we got on the phone with Will, and it was immediately like, this guy understands our band. He understands what we're trying to go for. And like, yeah, a lot of that came pouring out of us because we had a lot to unload after, you know, 3 years of some of the most mentally and physically agonizing experiences you could ever imagine. But Will is a top tier guy for trying to capture like that kind of raw emotion in a way that still sounds cohesive, but yet also raw and pummeling. I don't know. So I got to give a ton of credit to Will on that. Like that's just, he captured everything we could have ever asked him to and more. He's a pro.
Yeah, Will's probably one of my favorite producers. I mean, all the Every Time I Die records, Straight from the Path, just like the sound he gets from those bands. I'm sure, I think I saw him saying like, they do I don't know if it's the same with you, but they record every song like part by part because he wants to get the best performance of that part.
Yep. He's got a very specific formula, and it just works for him. I had worked with him in 2012 with my previous band, Texas in July, and it was the same thing. I was like, I knew going into having the call with him about doing our record, I was like, I already know he's the guy, but he needs to talk to everyone and get him on the same page, because I had the same experience with him in 2012. It's like, this guy is just, he understands, first off, he just understands the genre as a whole, right? He gets all of it. And so I knew, like, I've watched him work with my band. I basically have loved every record he's ever touched in any way. It's like, I knew he was the guy. He literally doesn't put out a bad record ever. It's crazy.
And that's what I love about you, bro, is you're such a music nerd. Like hearing you at the start of this interview saying, you know, when you joined the Ghost Inside, like you were already like sat there and like, all right, I need to know this, and I need to know this, and I need to know this. Like, at what point in like your musical journey, like through making bands and stuff like that, did it click where like you became just an obsessive over some of these like interesting micro details about the music making process?
I think that started pretty early. I got into music really young. In fact, I remember hearing like Metallica's Black Album for the first time when I was like 2 years old, and it literally changed my life forever. But I would like seek out, like Metallica put out that 1.5 years of the life of Metallica documentary thing, and I watched that probably 100 times as a early teens through my teenage years and stuff. And I've seen any behind the scenes documentary bands ever put out. Like I've watched it and probably watched it multiple times. I just love watching the pieces come together, whether that's like from a business end of things, whether it's from a logistical end of things, whether it's in the studio. I just love watching it all get built from the ground up. So the first time I recorded with my old local band, before anybody had it, and hopefully nobody ever goes and digs any of that stuff up. Don't bother listening.
What was the band name again? What was the band name again?
We're not going to go into that. We're not going to go into that.
Was it the old MySpace days?
Yeah, let's not dig any of that stuff up. But from the first time I recorded with that band, I just became obsessed with watching. Like, I had all of these songs that I built in my head and we have played in our practice room, but watching them all go into the computer and get built track on top of track on top of track all the way to the finished product made me obsessed with that entire process. So then I went down the rabbit hole of finding out like who made all of my favorite records, who did what on those records. So I like have a Rolodex in my head of like
Sick.
all of like the guys who made every record that I've ever loved in my entire life. And I get, the same way that some people get about like, and I would get this way about, but like, say James Hetfield walked into a room and everybody would be freaking out. Like, Chris Lord Alge walks into a room, like one of the biggest mixers of all time. I would be freaking out the same way. Cause like he has been a huge part of like making my favorite records and my favorite music sound the way that it does. And that to me is just as important. I love that stuff. So it started early on for me. And like I said, it started with just the behind the scenes documentary stuff. And then it was like watching records get made. It's like that to me is like those people who do that stuff. They're the unsung heroes of this stuff. Everybody idolizes the bands, but it's like sometimes without that producer and that engineer and that mix engineer, like that music you love doesn't turn out the way you want it to. So to me, I think that those guys are the real rock stars in my opinion.
Oh, dude, 100%. And that's Ollie's side of the coin massively. Like he is our resident production nerd.
Just building my own studio at the moment, but
Sick.
it's in sort of almost ready to open. But it's one of those when you get into it, it's like a rabbit hole that you never get out of. It's just like so much information just to pull
and equipment as well. It's like
equipment, yeah.
This room I'm in right now. So my wife and I bought our house in November of 2019, right before everything shut down.
Damn, okay.
And I turned my garage, which is what I'm in right now, into my studio.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a 3-week process. Because of COVID, it took nearly 4 months and way more money than it was supposed to. Oh. So trust me, I get it. I get it.
Just like when you put your speakers in, you're like, oh, I need to deaden the walls. I need to get some bass traps and all that. It's just like, there's always just stuff that you need to add. It's one of those, but it's exciting. Do you do a lot of producing then at home or like?
So I used to do more. Last year, I kind of took the majority of the year off because we were just so busy. So I'm married. I have 2 kids. And when we got in the accident, I was just engaged. Like we weren't even married yet. We didn't have any kids. It was really different for me back then. And now getting back into touring, married, 2 kids, owning a home, like I kind of have to shift my priorities when I'm home. Like I have to be a dad and a husband first. So last year with how much we were touring, I was just like, when I'm home, I just have to be present and be home. But I have been picking up some stuff for this year. Our year starts to ramp up a little bit later this year than it did last year. So I'm doing some projects at the beginning of this year, but yes, to answer your question, after the accident, like all I was doing until I returned to playing shows was basically producing bands.
Damn, let's go. Well, we mentioned this slightly earlier on in the interview, and I don't want to forget about it. Blue Ridge Festival. Because
John was there.
Yeah, because I was there. We would the day that you played. We were trying to meet up for a beer that day. Because
why didn't you message me?
I'm 90% sure I did. Did I not? Or was it Download Fest?
I don't think you did because I would have come and found you.
Fuck. Or was it Download Fest? We were trying to meet up for a bit. There was I
think it was Download. We were trying to meet up.
Download. Right then. Yeah. then Blue Ridge is on me. But you were actually one of the few bands that got to perform at Blue Ridge Festival. And as a punter, because I didn't go working or doing interviews or any of that shit. I went because that lineup was fucking stupid.
You went to enjoy a 4-day festival.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll fly out to America for a nice little festival. Go and see one of the biggest festivals in North America. See what it's got to offer. And boy, was it an experience. I mean, from your side of the fence as a performer, when like obviously you actually got to do your set, but like what was it like that day for you? Like I can imagine it was hard.
Yeah. So I want to be as fair about this as I can because I don't know all of the details about what really went south. Our day for the most part was fairly easy, and we did get to play, and we had a great time. Like we had a really great set. We had played in 2021 also and had a not awesome experience. This time around was much better for us.
Damn.
But you know, like we played and like an hour later, all hell broke loose and like there was that terrible storm and they canceled the rest of the day. But I will say things like catering was not awesome like that. I know that that's a thing that has been coming out in headlines and stuff about food not being great for people working the festival. Like I can tell you that like for all of the festivals that I've played, that is potentially the worst catering situation I've ever had in my entire life. And
Firefest, like slabs of cheese and like bread.
not far off. Like it was bad, and that may sound like really privileged of me to like complain about the free food I was getting that day, but it's not even about me. It's like if they're you know, offering that to their artists, that means they're doing even less for the crew who are making the festival happen. And that's what makes me concerned is like, yeah. I can go out and buy myself a meal if I have to. The people who are there from sun up to sundown, like running the festival all day, every day. If the artists are getting food that bad, the crew's getting way worse. And that's what bums me out.
Yeah, man. And it was something that Tank the Tech, who was working with Electric Callboy, like he covered the whole situation pretty much perfectly. And his biggest gripe seemed to be infrastructure based, which, you know, as a punter, there was a ton of infrastructure issues. I mean, like on that day where you played, like we didn't get into the festival until like later on in like the afternoon because it was like a 2-hour wait for shuttle buses, 2-hour wait for wristband exchanges. And like for me, from like the behind the scenes one, the most worrying one was like the support that the ground staff were getting, like as you said, like the people who were responsible for making sure the actual festival operated, like, you know, having like one forklift truck to drive production all around like a mountainous range. It's like you got to help these bands out.
Yep. You know, and it was the same thing in 2021 when we played. It was at a different location back then, a much more remote location, and there was one road in and out, and that year we played third to last on the day. It was us, A Day to Remember, then Breaking Benjamin. Damn. And there were people still in line. We left during Breaking Benjamin's set, and there was still a line of cars like 3 or 4 miles long waiting to get into the festival because it was so ill organized. So like there were people who paid hundreds of dollars and didn't even get into the first day to see any of the bands.
In their car.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive queue.
Yes, yeah. And so, you know, I have had small interactions with John Sly, the promoter of the festival, and he's always been very kind to me. So I'm trying to be really cautious because I don't know all of the details. Yeah. I know what's been published. I've heard from other people who have had, like I've spoken to Tank directly about that after watching his video, and him and I have gotten really deep, even about stuff that he didn't cover in his video.
Wow.
About what him and the Eskimo or the Electric Callboy guys experienced. But I didn't have the like, you know, direct personal experience. So I'm like, I want to stop short of like blaming people or pointing fingers because it didn't happen to me. If it happened to me, I'd be out here saying like, yeah, this is what happened to us. This is fucking bullshit. But it's like, I don't want to be the guy because I don't know all the details firsthand. But I just hope that like, I think the biggest thing for me now is that they still haven't refunded fans, and tell me about it, man. I'm still waiting on a refund. I feel for you. I know of plenty of people who came in from like Australia and stuff too, and like that's not cheap. That's really fucking expensive.
Yeah, man.
Like people save all year to like fly and make a trip like that, and they probably, my gut feeling is that never going to get money back, and that's fucking terrible.
Yeah, man.
You know? And as far as I know, they're selling tickets for this year, and they haven't even announced the lineup. Oh, they were already selling tickets for this year when the festival was going last year.
Motherfuckers.
I feel like they use the act of God clause, don't they, a lot? It's like, if it's an act of God, if it's the weather, it's out of our hands.
Well, the confusing thing about that is, so most festivals, I would assume, I know most bigger festivals get insurance for things like this.
Yeah.
And they have made a statement about insurance, but to me, none of it adds up. And again, I'm like stopping short of like making a real claim here, but it's just,
we don't know anything, but you know.
I don't understand. I don't understand any of like what's happening right now. Like, first and foremost, give the fans their money back. You didn't give them what they paid for.
Yeah.
Give them their money back.
Yeah. It's like
that's where I'm at.
We as punters got a day and a half, basically. And especially like as a music journalist, like I was kind of looking forward to just, you know, like experiencing stuff like, you know, when Shinedown play in the UK at Download Festival, they don't headline, and watching Shinedown headline a festival, was looking forward to that. Like, I found it really interesting that Sleep Token had a bigger crowd than Slipknot, like that weekend, you know, stuff like that. But it was only like a day and a half's worth of getting that stuff. And it's like, at that point, you haven't really delivered a 4-day festival, have you?
No, not even close. Not even close. And from what I understand from some of my friends who were there, the second day they like stopped bringing people in half the day. So there were people who were waiting to get shuttled into the festival who were told that the buses were on hold, and then they never started going again. So like only half of the attendees got in on the second day.
It was a very bold strategy to have one way in and one way out for every punter. It's like, you get on a school bus, you go in, you get on a school bus, you go out, and that's it. That's your entry and exit. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that if the festival continues on, and I from the outside looking in am very skeptical that it's going to happen this year in the first place, because usually by now they have announced a lineup. But I hope that if it does continue, they at least take this year off. Yeah. Figure out how to pay the fans back. Figure out how to do the logistics of the festival better, and then try again in 2025. I think that they at bare minimum owe it to the fans to take a year off, reevaluate their execution, and then try again. Hell yeah. Reevaluate, refund, and reassemble. What a mentality.
There it is.
There's a lyric.
There it is.
There's a lyric for the new album.
Yeah, right.
That's, you know what? It is now.
you can have that one on the house. Well, I mean, speaking of lyrics, like one thing that we wanted to talk to you about is the fact that, like, you know, we mentioned with your guitar tones how hard they hit, but like you as a band seem to be one of, if not the best on the planet for the a cappella drop just before the breakdown. Whether it's live swinging harder, I'm swinging harder, like you name it. Like if it goes before a breakdown in the Ghost Inside song, you can probably guarantee it's going to be stuck in your head forever. Like I'm guessing a lot of that comes from Virgil, but again, like as the guitarist as well, I imagine there's quite a lot of synergy that has to happen between the two of you to find, like, you know, the right set of words going into the right like note based combination.
It is certainly the majority of it is Vigil. He like his whole thing is he's the lyrics guy, you know, and even if he's not rhythmically placing the words into the song, like he is writing the words that we then place into the song. So it's almost always Vigil. He's a mastermind behind that, and he's got some sort of magic with those moments, because you're right, like that was one of my favorite things about the band before I joined is you know, when I would go see the band, I was always the ones you know, jumping up on top of people's heads going, "What do you stand for?" Like that was always me, you know. So I totally understand that, and I don't know what that magic gift is that he has, but he's got it. I know that he's always got a running list of, like, even if we're working on a record or not, his notes app on his phone is full of like lines and like words and topics, and he's always adding that stuff. So who knows what he's got in there. He's probably got some sort of magic voodoo going on in there that none of us could ever understand, some sort of magic language. But yeah, he does really seem to have like some sort of like special talent for that one little 3 second in a song. He nails it every time.
I just love it when it's like building up to a breakdown, then it just drops out for 2 bars, and then it's just a vocal line. It's just when it comes back in, it just makes it
The
so much more.
the impact's unbelievable.
Especially live as well, when the whole crowd's singing it. It must feel great when you're up there.
It is the coolest feeling ever. I will never get over, specifically the one that's become really big for us is Mercy, Life's Swinging Hard, But I'm Swinging Harder, which, I mean, for obvious reasons, given everything we've been through, has become like, our fans kind of designated that as like, that's our slogan now, which is fine. I love that. That's perfect. But I will never get tired of playing that song in that moment, because it's always deafening. You know, we play with in-ear monitors in, and for the most part, you can't hear what's going on around you. Like, we do have mics that we point towards the crowd, so it's not completely dead in our ears. We can hear when the crowd is, you know, responding to us, but it's pretty quiet. And every night without fail, that is still deafening. And it's like, to get that kind of response for a song that's now, it's 10, 11 years old. Like, you know, like,
jeez.
And we went away for 4 years in that time period. It's like, that kind of thing never gets old. That is the kind of thing that, like, even if you're having the worst day ever, like, getting that kind of response and energy back from the people who came to see you, like, can completely turn your day around. And it always does. Always does.
Because, yeah, when I saw you guys in Birmingham last March, March, was it? Yeah, like that was a particular moment in the set. And like, what I loved as well is like, your lighting package for that run was perfect, because it complemented the atmosphere of songs so perfectly. Whether it was, you know, like, you had like red fills coming out during pressure points and like filling the room before like loads of strobes went off, and like, especially during Mercy, as soon as that breakdown hits, like the relationship between, you know, your guitars, the lights, and then the pits that pop off to that as well. Like, you must have seen some destruction whilst playing that song live.
It can get a little scary at times. Some shows are a little bit worse than others, but yeah, you see some stuff from time to time. And it really depends on Vigil's mood. If he's feeling extra feisty, things can get a little sketch. Like, he's gotten into a habit of, when he's having a really good night, he'll start grabbing things on stage and tell people to crowd surf up, and he'll give it to them. So like, he'll start grabbing our guitar picks by a handfuls, and they'll steal drumsticks from Andrew and give set licks, and he'll encourage people to crowd surf up. And, you know, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there'll be 100 people coming over the barricade at one time. And I'm just like, one day somebody's going to get dropped on their head and we're going to get sued, and this is not going to end well. This is scary. This is scary.
Who wants a guitar? Just grabs one of your spare guitars.
I've made jokes about him. I've made jokes about him giving away our drummer's leg, and I wouldn't put it past him. Just saying, I wouldn't put it past him.
Like Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrew's just like, what the fuck? What do I do now?
Vigil's a scoundrel. I wouldn't put it past him.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I mean, like, your live shows are unlike anything else within the heavy world, because there is such a unique atmosphere when you guys play live. Like, I feel like, and I think it is a combination of like the songs that you write plus your production as well. I mean, like, on that run, like, you know, they open up with Avalanche, where like you all walk out in the blackness, then those like LED strip lights like slowly come in behind you, like silhouetting you perfectly. Like, what's your rehearsal process like when you're putting together like these packages for these different tours and finding like these different elements that you can play on live to make moments?
So that's something that we're actually like actively working on every time we go out, because the band obviously grew considerably post accident. Like, people started to find out about us more because people were talking about the accident. And so we are now able to do a little bit more of that stuff than we were able to pre-accident. And now that we're touring, we're actually having to like really kind of figure that stuff out. Before, we were doing things like Brixton, and we were doing things like the Shrine in LA. Like, these were these one day things where we would hire like a lighting designer guy that we're friends with, and just said, just design a show and then show up on the day of the show and we'll figure out what it looks like. Like, we didn't really get time to spend really thinking it out. And I think that that tour that you came to see in Birmingham might have been the first time that we had a little bit of say before the tour of like, okay, let's see your design. Okay, can we move this here? Can you program? Because now we do this thing called, we run time code, which is out of our click track like playback session, we send an audio signal out to the lighting desk that syncs all the lights up to the show. So when you do that, your lighting guy can program a whole show, give you a digital visualizer, and you can watch the lights back on a computer without you actually playing. Yeah. So we get the whole show now, and then we can give notes of like, at this timestamp, we need this blinder to be out. It's too bright right now. Turn it off. Like we can do stuff like that. So we've gotten really deep into that, and it got really deep this past summer when we did the co-headline tour with Under Oath, where since it was a co-headline tour, us and Under Oath could split the production costs, and we got to go even bigger than we normally would. So we got a giant LED wall and like this big lighting package, and we got really deep into like synchronizing video content to all the songs and like all these crazy moving lights and stuff. And yeah, it's something that we're trying to add to the visual side of the band. We're trying to get a little bit deeper and that, be a little bit more purpose driven with everything that's happening on stage. You know, like we put all this time into writing the songs and writing the lyrics. We want to make sure that like the show that we're putting on for the people who pay to see us complement that in an appropriate way. And like I look at bands like you know, obviously we are nowhere near this caliber stuff, but it's a band that I draw inspiration from, and I think every band in our genre does. But like Bring Me's production is always on point.
Insane,
like
yeah.
I imagine that like I know that Ollie's kind of like their idea guy over there. Like Ollie's like for sure thinking about every single second of every single song in the set and where this light should be at that exact moment. And like I'm trying to like take a little bit of that like drive to just focus on all the details. And so we've got a long way to go as far as figuring all that stuff out, but we're trying to be a little bit more intentional with all of it along the way.
I think you're smashing it, man, because that show in Birmingham, like, it was evident that you'd gone in there with a game plan and that you wanted certain parts to have either, like, you know, feels or invoke certain emotions. And I've always said this, like, no matter what level a band is at, they can always use their production to enhance stuff. And it's like, you know, you referenced Bring Me the Horizon then, like, on their last tour, me and Ollie both went to see them in Birmingham. Like, one thing I found really interesting, they CO2'd for the first 5 songs and brought Fire in on track like 5 or 6, and it's like obviously Fire's like, you know, the big bang, like the big spectacle payoff, so use a slightly smaller bit of production to still give impact on songs and sprinkle that in, but you keep the bigger boom for a little bit later on in the set. And I feel like with your set lists, like the booms come from these songs because almost the songs are their own productions, especially when you've got like these call outs, these mosh pits and stuff like that going on. So as someone who's responsible for like the melodic composition of the band, and you're sat there, you know, like playing guitar and you're singing as well at certain points during the shows, like when you're watching it all unfold, like the more of this that you've done since joining the Ghost Inside, have you felt more confident bringing these elements in, like, you know, stuff like you just said, your first experimentation into like LED screens and stuff like that? Like, do you feel like that's something as a band that you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, like we've been waiting to get our hands on these toys?
Absolutely. And I think that even started at the Shrine when we used pyro for the first time and stuff like that.
Was that the first one?
That was the first one. Yeah. And so like all these things that like we've watched bands that we've looked up to get to, like all the toys they get to play with. Like I want to set stuff on fire, you know, come on. What teenage kid doesn't dream about setting things on fire with giant flamethrowers? Come on, you know?
You just got to remember where they are. Do you know what? Actually, at the Bring Me tour, I was watching. I think Lee forgot that there was going to be a fire, like come up,
fire blast,
and like he was very close to it, and I saw his face just like, what about that?
That happened to our bass player when we played Riot Fest in 2021. The pyro guy wasn't paying attention to where our bass player was, and he walked up, and it actually caught the side of his body. Didn't burn him bad, but singed some of his eyebrows off. It was scary. It was scary. But yeah, we're starting to feel. I think something clicked for us last year where I feel like we started playing better and performing better, because I do think that those are two different things. You know, it's one thing to play as a band. I think we're playing as a band better than we ever have. And I think that even includes pre-accident. Like I think that we're finding our groove now. And I think that we've all kind of figured out how to compensate for our physical weaknesses post-accident at this point. We figured out all the workarounds and all that. But I also think that like there is a sense of confidence and like a sense of like we actually belong here. You know, like we didn't get placed here. Like we deserve to be here, kind of.
No pun intended, but you've earned it.
Right, exactly. And so I think that something clicked in all of us this past year, and I think it hit somewhere around that like UK Empiricon tour into like summer festivals, and that by the time we hit the Under Oath tour in the States, it was like, okay, we're supposed to be here now. Like we're supposed to be. And I think that watching videos back from the Under Oath tour, like you can tell how much more confident and comfortable we all kind of feel doing this again now. Like it's finally starting to click again, which is really awesome.
Dude, that sends chills down my spine, man, because especially with like new music on the way, like as you mentioned, like you had that Brixton show in the UK as well, like your biggest headliner over this side of the world to date. Like it,
big time.
Dude, your band is the biggest it's ever been.
And you're coming back to the UK this year for Slam Dunk.
Yeah, we're coming back for Slam Dunk. We'll be at Slam Dunk.
Yeah, it's a big slot as well, because I think it's like I Prevail,
Funeral for a Friend, Asking Alexandria,
Asking,
and then you guys. Yeah, huge stage to be on. And
I mean, so here's the thing is they offered us to play last year. But we knew we wanted to come over and do the headline run before Empiricon, so we passed. And then they sent the offer again this year, and we saw who was on it, and we were like, yeah, these are all the bands we want to tour with. Why would we not go play that? You know, so we're actually coming over just to do those two shows, just because we want to come play, because we missed it last year, and it's a chance for us to come play. Like, we all love the I Prevail guys. We all love the Asking guys. Like, why would we not come hang out with our friends for 2 days, you know? So we're excited.
Damn,
we can't wait.
That's so wholesome. So you're not doing anything else in Europe? Because usually when bands come from America, they do like some of the German ones or like the other European ones like Hellfest, but you're just slam dunking.
So yeah, we're gonna take the summer off from the Euro Festival run. We just did it last year. I think I'm gonna get myself in some trouble here, maybe. But I think the idea is for us to try to come over and do some sort of tour in the fall with UK and Europe.
Sick.
But so we're just gonna come over and do Slam Dunk, hang for a couple days, and then go home, and then hopefully come back in the fall, I think is the plan.
Hell yeah. Oh
yeah,
dude, that is very, very exciting.
Have you had talks about this show yet? Have you got anything lined up special, or is it a bit too early?
It's a little too early, but I imagine, like I said, we're pretty good friends with the Asking guys. I wouldn't be surprised if we do something maybe a little exciting with the Asking guys. So we'll see what happens. There has been talks between our camp. I don't know if they've extended out into the Asking camp yet, but we'll see. We have some ideas. We'll see if they come to fruition or not.
Let's fucking go. Well,
yeah.
we won't pro too much because we don't want to get you into any trouble. But dude, like hearing everything that you've got going on this year makes me so damn excited. And in fact, just before we let you go, one thing that I did want to talk to you about as well, which is the song that I actually got introduced to you guys on, which was Engine 45. And that was the first Ghost in Songs tune, that Ghost Inside song that I ever heard, courtesy of one of my friends, a guy called Andy Shaw that I DJ with in Birmingham. He's a massive fan of you guys, and it was the gang vocals that really hooked me into it. And then watching you perform that live, because I had no idea that, like, you know, you were part of the chorus on stage that are like singing that back. Like, in terms of watching like a fan reaction to a song, and specifically that being the song that you end your sets with as well, like, what is it like when you're stood up there on stage, as you said, given the history of the band, given like the accident, and, you know, like, I'm assuming that most people who've watched this show know what the accident that you've referred to throughout the interview was. Like, how affirming is it watching this song that you end your set on being the legacy of your band moving forward? Because for me, when I watched that performance in Birmingham and you end on Engine 45, and it's literally like that gang vocal is the last thing that you hear from the Ghost Inside before you leave and go home, it is such a positive note to leave people on, which kind of feels like the whole antithesis of the band.
Yeah, I mean, that is literally the entire spirit of the band. And that's, you know, that's exactly how we want people to leave the show. We want people to leave on a high note like that. You know, like I was hearing stories about people leaving Brixton and like, you know, crowds of people walking out and still singing the end of that song together, walking down, you know, like to leave and go home. Like that's awesome. That's what I want. But yeah, like I said, you never get tired of that. It gets emotional sometimes too. Like it's watching people in the crowd have like fully emotional physical responses to the song. Like I've broken down on stage crying and like from watching people, you know, have their own reaction like that. You know, another one that does that is our song White Light, which is about Vigil's brother passing. It's not uncommon at almost every single show for us to play that song, and someone in the crowd has had a similar situation as Vigil. And so they start crying, and then Vigil starts crying, and then all of us, and then it's game over, you know. But, you know, I think that having any song, even if it's just one song, any song at all, where you can see it evoke an emotional response from the people who come to see you like that, there's nothing more rewarding. Because isn't that all we're really hoping for with music, is to like make somebody feel something in any way, you know, like, and isn't that why we're writing music in the first place, is because it makes us feel something, you know? And I just feel grateful that Vigil is trying to use this platform that like we're extremely lucky to have for like the greater good. You know, he's trying to push a positive message, and in what literally is like what feels like the darkest, most depressing times that anybody could ever be alive. You know, Vigil's out here waving the flag for the greater good, and so I think I feel really fortunate to be a part of like that whole process with him. You know what I mean?
Dude, and we are so grateful for your time as well, man, because like hearing your insight and just listening to you talk about this band, that it's quite clear that you were just a fan of this band before you joined, and
big time.
Like having someone who loves what they do and making it, like, it is the best feeling to watch. And dude, at any point in time you ever want to come back on the show and shoot the shit, if you ever want to talk about any of the new music that you got working on, we're always here, and we'll always do everything that we can to support you, because I think I speak for both of us when we say we fucking love your band, man.
Hell yeah.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, anytime you want me, I'm down. Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Soon enough, we'll be able to talk about the new record, maybe real soon. So maybe we come back on sooner rather than later, and we get to talk about the record then.
Fuck yeah. Well, in the meantime, I'll be in your DMs just asking you, when's the date, bro?
Sounds good.
Fantastic. Well, my friend, show a lot of love and appreciation for our guest on today's show, Chris from The Ghost Inside.
Cheers, Chris.
See you guys.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it, man.
Of course.
Hell yeah. Well,
There he goes.
my friends, what a show. That was...
Yeah. It's 50 minutes we did that.
Yeah, 2 hours just flown by.
Flew by.
Absolutely flown by. Well, a massive thank you to Sam from Shields and to Chris from The Ghost Inside. If you missed anything from today's show, whether you joined halfway through any of the interviews, you can go back and watch it on YouTube underneath the live tab, or you can listen to the audio podcast.
As long as we haven't been taken down for playing Bad Omens.
Definitely will have a copyright dispute on that
There's
one.
Sumerian Records, they might be all right.
Maybe.
Dunno. It's not
Yeah.
Sony.
Very true.
But, yeah, it's been a good one.
Yeah.
A lot of good chats.
A lot of guitar talk today. I've loved it.
A lot of riffs in the chat.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't been as organised as I was last week. I don't know who's going to be on next Monday's show. I've got a hit list that I'm striving for.
Yeah.
I'm
So we're trying to get Metallica.
yeah. Tyler Joseph and 21 Pilots.
Yeah. He just keeps on ignoring your DMs, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, I've messaged him every day
John
for the last 5 years.
DMs him, yeah, twice a day.
Yeah, I've ramped it up to twice a day now.
Yeah. Who else can we get? T Swift.
T Swift, yeah.
I'll drop her a message. See what she says. But yeah, until she replies, we don't know who's going to be on.
Do you actually know that, like, through 6 degrees of separation, we actually do know Taylor Swift-ish, kind of? Because
I reckon I can probably link back to most people in 6 degrees.
you reckon? Because Sophie Lloyd, who we know, amazing guitar player.
Well, I don't know her, so that's kind of...
Well,
I know you.
Yeah.
you know her.
But
That's a degree.
plays guitar for MGK.
Yep.
MGK puts on his own festival in Cleveland, Ohio, which is where the Kelsey brothers are from.
Yeah.
And I think it was last year when they did it, Travis Kelsey was there because he's boys with MGK. He watched Sophie Lloyd perform live, and then when she put up a photo being like performed at this festival in Cleveland, Travis actually commented on the photo, the rock horns.
Yeah.
And now Travis Kelsey's going out with Taylor Swift. So there you go.
Yeah. It's kind of a loose connection.
That's why it's 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah. I guess if you know someone, that counts, isn't it?
Yeah, right. All it is about knowing someone who knows someone.
Yeah. I guess I'm just one away from that because I know you.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. 7 degrees of separation. But yeah, unfortunately, that was a very long-winded way of us saying, don't know who's going to be on Monday's show.
Travis Kelsey, the Kelsey brothers on the show.
Yeah, just before he goes and plays in the Super Bowl the weekend after.
Can you believe Taylor Swift put his name on the map? No one knew who he was.
No, he only had 2 Super Bowls before then.
No one knew who he was.
No.
I've seen people get so pissed off with that. It means nothing to me. I don't watch football.
You know,
American football.
just get into it, man. It's a great sport. Now's the
I
wrong
would-
time. Though.
I'd watch it.
The season's just about to end.
I'd watch it if they use the foot more, use the feet more. Don't really use the feet in football. do
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not real. It's not real football. Anyway, I'm just rambling.
Right. Thank you ever so much for joining us today, my friends. We will be back on Monday with a brand new show. But all that's left for me to say is my name's Jon Mahon. Peace and love. Stay alive.
And I'm Ollie or out. Go fug yourselves. Respectfully.